Hey everybody, welcome to episode 150 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Bloodtithe Ben BT. How you doing?
Hello, very good. 150.
Yeah, man.
That's what we're up to.
And
Yeah,
and
crazy.
before we jump into that, we are also joined by Tio Extraordinaire and the Highlander himself, Ian Triple Power Triple O Trips. How are you today?
I'm very good. Welcome to the podcast Growing Up. We've reached 150.
Yeah, we're in the teens. Milton can't join us today. I'm not even going to speculate, because we signed an NDA as to why he's not here. So,
Prison overpopulation.
well, yeah, I know. He'll be joining us soon. He'll be released, right? I don't know. Anyway, like Ben said, episode 150, which is pretty, that's pretty monstrous. That's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think there's sometimes, because it's just like, at what point does what episode does a podcast become like a long podcast, like a long-standing
podcast? I mean,
yeah, 50 does seem pretty good.
It's been a long time now. It's actually been a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I think if we get another edition of Blood Bowl, then it will be like we would have been around for 3 different versions of the game, and that's the point at which it becomes kind of like the third era. How do we do this? Do we do the episodes see all? So doing the old scroll on I podcasts or whatever it. I'm just trying to find when Ben joined the crew. Oh, there he is with his haircut. Yeah.
Oh, that is so bad. So you posted something in was it Discord?
It was Discord.
Discord. Well done, Discord. What
happened? Like, the early lockdown was just a monstrous time for everyone, and hair all around. I don't even know if it was lockdown. It was just before. I just at some point I decided to start caring. Crazy.
Oh my god, Ben! It was episode 31 you joined us.
31. What? That's when it went like full time.
I think so. Yeah. Joined by Bloodtithe Ben to talk about Bonehead Podcast Coach Championship, the Ogre Spike review.
Ogre
Spike.
Okay.
Jesus. Rich did World Cup 29, and then we did Tombstone 28, and then Bloodtithe from 31, 32, 33. Yeah. So.
Wow.
That's. Yeah, you had nearly 120 episodes for you. Trips, when did we trick you into becoming a regular as well?
This must have been around 100.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's been a while.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, and I appreciate you being here. I've just gone.
Like, I'd imagine actually maybe half of it. I don't know, because again, you got like these years in between, the COVID era, where time just went into a wormhole.
2 years.
So I really have no idea.
I did. I think I watched a comedy skit or something the other day that touched on like 2020 and how like ridiculous it was. And I remember we were all at Beachhead 2020, like
the year that it happened.
Yeah,
joking around.
I remember joking around, which looking back is it's woefully inappropriate. But yeah, I mean, bold. Right. Is there a playlist? That is a playlist. I'm delving in now. I'm going back. We're gonna pick one. Episode 87. Whoa, Trips is there. Yeah, some of the older episodes are not our best work. Oh, we do look young though. That's mad.
It's young and thin. That's how I look back on it. We're just like, well, why?
Yeah, I've been drinking that beefcake.
Really,
yeah, I think it's going to come into a factor later in the podcast when we talk about stuff.
Oh, we had a Trips episode. 7 special. Just me and Trips on 101. And I think we just kept Trips from then.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Wicked. So you're on 50 plus episodes now, Trips, as well. Mad.
That's not bad.
50 plus. A ton of games and a ton of a ton of tournaments as well, which should be wicked. Anyway, apart from self-congratulating, what are we talking about on today's podcast, Ben? With a bit of
various things, but we're going to be talking about if this is the end.
Is
as the doom scrolling quite literally happens above the screen. Yeah,
we went clickbait for this one. Is this the end? Well, let's find out. Is this the end? Well, are we going to touch on anything else though, Ben?
Yeah, we're going to mention a little bit on our experience playing Chorfs, as we did have a game this week using them, which was interesting. A little bit to say about that. Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, a little bit to say about that. Yeah. We'll talk about some other bits as well, but let's dive into it. Okay, so we're going to delve straight into it. On Monday Night Blood Bowl this week, we played with Chorfs. We got the Chorf team on the go. Now, BT got, he's had a beautifully painted Punga team for a little while, but he did us the great honour of creating a stab lad with a knife and painting one of the guys with fire on his head, which my face is ruining on the shot right now, as the flame boy. Right, okay, I need to be better at this. Because I've done that thing, you know, when you ironically start saying a phrase and then it becomes like a real thing.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Any like Gen Z slang for me, but yeah.
Yes, get yeeted into the crowd. Hobgoblin, Sneaky Stabber, and the Flamesmith. Those are the 2 new positionals. So Ben converted a couple of those up. Now, we went for it. We wanted to do what... Well, last episode, Ben, we talked about having what the optimal Chorf roster is, right?
Yes.
Is that the one we made you run on this episode?
No. No, I think my optimal one is not the new things. However, that's really unfun, and that's not what we do here. So we decided to run a roster where we actually included the new things, because everyone wants to see that. And so we had one of each, which I think is probably fair. I think, it gets a bit overkill with 2 stabbers, a bit unnecessary. And the Flamesmiths is like, you also have a cost point as well there. So
the Flamesmith, like, oh, right, okay, Telestrator, good job, Ben. The Flamesmith is, even in like the old thing when you had 6 Chaos Dwarfs, like you would have to choose between a second Bull Centaur and all your Chaos Dwarfs. So we went five Chaos Dwarfs, including 1 Flamesmith and a Bull Centaur, and one of the Hobgoblins we upgraded to the Sneaky Stabber. So you had 12 roster, 2 rerolls.
Yes, there was 2 Centaurs as well, both Centaurs.
Yeah, both the Centaurs, which haven't changed in any way, shape or form.
They're still good.
They're still excellent. Like, they're still really, really good. And then trips, you guys got together, I think, with Discord and decided this one, that you were going to be playing Amazons.
Yeah, the old traditional matchup of dodge versus tackle. And obviously no tackle, but the Amazons still come with all the dodge.
Yeah, got dodge, got strength 4. Oh yes. So yeah, like you said, it's a classic matchup, and like historically, you've always looked at it on paper and gone, that's brutal. Like, that's a win for the Chorfs. Obviously, then without them having tackle anymore, and with the new positionals in there, it's a very different matchup now, right?
Oh, it was so much harder. I think if they had tackle, it could have been quite a different game, and that was a really big change. Like, new positionals aside, that is a huge loss for Chaos Dwarves. Like, it slows them down even more when they're already slow, because they usually have that reliance on, at some point, those dodge pieces are going to want to dodge away, and when one fails, that's you're like, okay, now we catch up again because we can start bashing you down and move forward or whatever. But here it's just like, I just felt really stuck because I could just be outrun all the time.
It's funny, like tackle, we talked about it being like a really good free skill. Like, if you get it like laid up as a free skill, oh, that's not how that works. If you get it laid up as a free skill, there we go, that's what I'm looking to do. In this matchup, like, having tackle will force your opponent to fail more dodge rolls or take less dodge rolls, which gives you then free blocks. And when you've got block and you're 1-die blocking, it's just free. So like, having tackle on the line there is going to get you 4 to 6 more armor rolls across the game, which when your opponent is 8+ armor, like, that's looking at 2 to 3 more armor breaks across the game, which takes out 1 to 2 players, which really like pays for itself. So yeah, having that skill gone is a bit of a hit, but I think it was a really, really, really good game. I really enjoyed it. Chat was brilliant. We had it was a ton of fun. But let's talk about it, and let's start with the absolute very top. If you want to watch the game, go watch the game. And this week we'll be playing another game. We're going to do a tournament format. When is it? Wednesday. Yeah, I need to jump into the Patreon and get people to pick a tournament team for that. Chaos Dwarfs. Either of you, both of you, better or worse now?
Tricky. No, so much worse. I think a whole tier worse, at least. I know it sounds really negative, but I think it's, I like tier 2 more anyway. It's just that they have lost a lot and they have not gained much. That's how it feels. What about you, Trips?
So they're definitely not as good. They are a lot more fun to play against because they are not as good. And they have definitely... I'm not sure they've tiered down, but they're nowhere near to being that horrible 1 million build that you play on your first league game and you wish you turned up on week 2, not week 1.
Yes.
That's not an unfair way. We did kind of talk about that at the end of the game, didn't we? We picked the top tier 2 team, which is Orcs, right? And a straight out of the gate 1 million build roster, Orcs versus Dwarfs. Orcs are going to get the advantage there, and it's I think quite a big advantage. I'd say 45% win rate. Like, Orcs are going to get a 10-point advantage there because they've got the strength 4 to match the Chaos Dwarfs. They've got the block to match the Chaos Dwarfs. They've got the speed that's, generally speaking, as good or if not better than the Chaos Dwarfs, and they've got the integral skills their way. They've got a bit of sure hands as well, and it's just a filthy roster. Chaos Dwarfs, I mean, like Tripp said, they were a bit of a boogeyman. They were not as bad as Dwarfs because they were interesting. They were always quite an interesting team. Now, where the power is, like, it's not even the power, it's just the cookie cutterness of it has changed, and we've lost a bit of that tackle, which is a genuine thing. The Flamesmith, Ben, I mean, you played through the game. Did you get any opportunities that you can remember, or actually, you know what? You can watch the game for that. At what point during that game, with that guy on the pitch, did you think, "Oh, okay, I see what he's here for"? Like,
kind of. There was one instance where I was tagged by 2 players and I didn't have a way to get an assist in, and taking that Flamesmith option is better because it ignores tackle zones. So you can just sort of like use it. However, it's a bad 1-die block, and it's sort of just like there was an instance where I knocked someone down, but that would have happened on a POW anyway.
yeah, you rolled a nat 6.
Yeah, so you can't really go off on that. And there were a lot of instances where I tried to use it because it's new, but if the block would have been a better option because a push would have helped too. So it's like those instances where it always felt a little bit like those. Oh, I heard myself. That's a bit weird.
I did too. That was very strange.
Okay. But there was yeah, it just felt a little bit limiting and not tremendously exciting.
Yeah, I think when you were looking at using it, it felt like the less worse option, not the good option.
Yes.
And if from an opposing coach point of view, it wasn't really something to go, "Oh, I should think about that because it could be dangerous if it happens." It's almost like the troll vomiting. You're like, I know the troll vomits, but it's not going to change how I play against the troll.
Yeah.
Especially because the skill basically just replaces the block action. So it is just like Ben said, it's just like it gives you that when you're going to have a bad block, you've got something else you can do instead. Because obviously a 1-die straight up 4+ knock you prone on a 6 black you down is better than a 2-die block. Like, whether it's better than a 2-die negative, sorry, like 2-die block uphill. Like, in that circumstance, if you're looking at it, you're like, do I take the 2-die you choose? Okay. The thing is, though, you've got that integral push bit as well. Yeah. So a lot of the times a 1-die block with block is just the best thing you can do in the world. It's cool. It's an alternative, and I think Trips, you called it there with the troll vomit. Like, sometimes it's going to happen. It's not ubiquitous. I think having an extra bit of movement is kind of useful. It's funny, you've got a blitzer with a skill you can't use on a blitz. I think maybe if we'd given him Juggernaut instead of Brawler, that would have been interesting. I think they could have just been the Chaos Dwarf Blitzer then.
Even less likely to use the the flame breath.
Yeah,
because you can get a push.
yeah, it's true. It is true.
Yeah.
Interesting positional. One positional I did love, as particularly in this matchup, was the Stab Lad himself. I thought that was great. You did a great job trying to use him over and over and over again, Ben. I feel like after turn 4-5, when you remembered he was there.
Well, Trip certainly helped because he kept basing him, which was awesome. So...
Well, yeah, he's probably just trying to set up himself to have a free block to take out a new positional, so he can't learn anything from the channel. Which I think Discord called you out for as well, or chat did, Trips, right?
Yeah, very much. Why have you not killed all the new positionals?
yeah, his Trip's okay. I can still see the Flamesmith and the Stabber on the pitch. I'm looking forward to a tournament matchup. I think when you get to choose skills, I mean, I say when you get to choose skills, everything's going on the Bull Centaur to begin with, right? This is the opposite of a trickle down economy. This is just literally the Bull Centaurs take as much as they can get. Like this is literally Theoden at Helm's Deep. And then what are you thinking skills wise for a tournament build in Chorfs now, Ben?
Just a lot of guard. Like it's really boring. But like you want blocked Bull Centaurs and guard Chaos Dwarves. I don't think a lot has really changed. Like you may consider something like you may consider like a dirty player or something like that if you have the skills to go around just to like try and help out with the removals. But
when the change to guards hit though, which does make fouling a little bit less good in this environment.
Yeah, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, and like I just think you need that with the dwarves. Like you're not ever dodging out and you're not ever catching up. So you need to be able to take players out, and guard just helps you take players out, and it fixes that problem that I said where the flame breath can be quite handy if you're in a pinch. You can just try and flame breath your way out on a 4+, so you can take out a tackle zone. But you could also just move guard in and then take the blocks, and I think it's just a little bit easier. So yeah, it sounds a bit boring, but let's say you had like 6 skills, I'd probably just do 2 block, 4 guard. Very boring.
If they get
their play style has fundamentally changed.
No.
Some of the base skills have fundamentally changed, but you are not going to play Chorfs as a fast passing team. You are going to grind your opponent into the ground, particularly if you play with the Chorf pitch rules.
Oh yeah, we should talk about the pitch rules as well. True. We used the Wastelands League rules, so +1 to argue the call. Then we rolled lava pools, which gave the ground essentially +1, +1 to armor rolls. Later on, we flipped over the pitch to the other side, and it does look very, very, very cool. There we go. Let's bounce over to that, where you've got actual 4 spots on the pitch. They don't affect movement or anything like that, but if you get knocked down in one of those squares, you get plus. The ground has Mighty Blow. So that was quite interesting because it did feel like you guys were trying your best to push people into that. It was like watching Robot Wars, just without Jeremy Clarkson. So it was
Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, man. I think he got replaced with Red Dwarf.
Yeah, Craig Charles is what I remember.
Oh yeah, no, Clarkson was first.
Yeah.
And better. Although BattleBots in America is just peak television. Tiff and I binged that when we were on paternity and maternity leave, and it was at the recommendation of her 80-year-old grandparents. We're like, "What are you up to?" They're like, "Oh yeah, no, we just finished up the last season of BattleBots," and we're like, "What is this?" And it is full on NFL commentary with robots on fire. Loved it.
I need to watch that. My dream as a kid to be on those shows.
Dude, it was wicked. It was so good. Yeah, pitch is lovely. We'll be using the pitch more on the channel because it's just a really good, like, very nice and clear, very bright. Looks cool with our lighting. I did like that. It's a lot clearer than the vampire pitch. But they've really got the OSL done like down to a T. Like if Games Workshop ever start deciding that they want to do tile-based games again, I think they've got the graphic design team for it. Like bust out a good Warhammer quest now with this stuff. Make sure that it's available for purchase, and I think they'll be onto a winner.
Yeah, I hope they made them. Yeah, no, I enjoyed the pitch rules as well. Like having the extra armor modification on these like lava pools was quite funny because it made Ironhard Skin happen one time. and made it relevant once, which was really cool.
It didn't, because Trips rolled a natural 10.
I think there was one time we were on a 9.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I remember up the top, Trips like blitzed in and was like, "Yep, boom, on the lava pool." Oh, I don't get it because of armor. Rolls a 10.
Yeah.
which was cool. Look, Chaos Dwarves are exactly what we expected them to be. Like, right, slightly harder to use, slightly more interactive, or at least less uninteractive, and some interesting different rules. They've been priced into a position where they're not going to be overpowered, but I think they're a better league team than a tournament team. Because you're gonna get to brew up some really fun players, some really dangerous players, and with that Ironhard skin and just the fact the dwarves are tough as anyway, they're gonna be around to do it. Like the brawler lads, the flamesmiths. I love the idea of pro on them in a league. Like just to you got brawler, you got that interaction. Like then you've got a guy who's just better at everything, including taking that flame hit when you need him to and stuff like that. But I would never ever. That would be the 8th, 9th skill I'd bother putting on somebody in a league. And honestly, he's probably just getting guard anyway to make my blockers better. It's but in a league, you can build up a player that becomes really good, because it's not like, oh, this is the only skill I can give him. This is like, oh, the first skill. Like, I like that. So I think they're going to be more fun in league. Plus, you're likely to be down sometimes 50 to 100k, and because they're Badlands Brawls, that's Nobbler, that's Bomber, that's Fungus the Loon. And when you've got a 1 million Chaos Dwarf roster, we saw that in this game, you are good to go. Like, you don't need much. Your team is quite capable. Sure, you don't have any sure hands, but you're not getting that for cheap anyway. But actually, if we'd run this roster and Trips had, I don't know, 3 skills, so was sitting about 1060 TV, like 1,060,000, and you got 60k in inducements, taking Nobbler, the chainsaw, or Fungus the Loon would have been, I think, a massive boon to the Chaos Dwarf team, because it's just more stuff happening against your opponent, and then the rest of your team can just continue to do your team's thing. So I actually really like the low end stars for the Chorf team, because you don't need anything for Chorfs. So just having other stuff, doing other stuff in the side, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do. I think
so too. Yeah, we touched it a bit on the end of the stream, but I think they're in a place where I think it's healthier and it's more interesting for the game.
Yeah.
Because that's what I mean. It's easy to be just like, oh, this team's bad now because the team was so good. But I think the team was too good. And now we have a team which you can do more things with, make more friends with, and the game just feels a little bit more, or a little bit less, this team beats your team because it's better.
Yeah, but as an opposing coach, they are, because they're not so strong and overpowered as they were, they're just more fun to play against. And it's more like playing, as we talked about, it's more like going, okay, you've got an orc team, I know what you're going to do, you're going to try and bash me, but you're not going, every roll isn't going to kill one of my players.
Yeah,
I think I do like that Games Workshop have gone and left the safety on with this team. Like, I think we were all agreed, like the stabbers are probably 20k too much, or shadowing could have been sidestep or something that actually, or sidestep or dodge or movement or access, something else to juice them up. 70k, they're not going to be usable very often. They can be clutch in a matchup, so I think they're quite useful to have in the same way as a chameleon skink, but it's just not a gimme like the chameleon skink is. Yeah. And the Flame Boy probably could have done with being the same price as a standard Chaos Dwarf blocker, but it's not the end of the world. I think if they'd gone, right, 60k rerolls, your Flamesmiths are the same price as Chaos Dwarf blockers, and the Stabbers are 50k, I think it would have been like, ooh, this is cool. This is cooking. This is going to be potent. But ultimately, I think what they've done is just, here's a team, does some fun stuff, can be really powerful. You've got to kind of earn it now.
That's it.
Which you know what? I think, like Trip said, it's probably going to be overall healthier. And ultimately, guys, like, it's your game. If you want to play with the old Chaos Dwarf rules, as long as you've got an opponent that you don't want to stay friends with, you can. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Like,
it's true.
Yeah, gone are the days where Games Workshop are going to be swatting you, so it's fine because we're not allowed to do that anymore. So. Right, we've got one other thing to talk about before we jump into our big topic for today, and I am just going to cut straight to the video. Because I've had an idea and I've had a thought, and I've been watching a ton of mini wargaming stuff recently, and you know Crazy Dave from mini wargaming, he's got this absolute
Sorry, this is new. We haven't seen this.
No. I'm on a crusade. He's got this whole just move thing where he's just trying to encourage people to be healthy, and I'm like, that's a great idea. And I was listening to one of their episodes, one of their behind the scenes episodes of the day, and they were talking about like how do you you're like this, Ben, how do you get gamification? Like how do you do something that encourages people to get fit? Like Tiff and I have done a bunch of the expensive medal challenges where you just walk, like the Conqueror ones. They're great fun. I don't know, like it works because once you've paid your £40 for a medal, you kind of like, oh, well, I better bloody walk the 100 miles so I can get it, so that it can go in the drawer in the kitchen. So kind of moved on from those at the moment. They were talking like, how do you gamification? How do you do it? And I was like, man, what if you like took a snapshot of your current fitness level and translated that into a game? And we're really lucky because Blood Bowl is not about how well you wield your chainsword or how good your shooting is. This is literally about how long can you run for, because everybody runs. How strong are you, because everybody is strong. So I've built a spreadsheet because that is what I do. And I've not shown the guys this, and I'm going to do a mini series of me trying to get into shape because I'm old now. I've got a kid and I've put on loads of weight. And looking back at episodes 30 has made me go, oh my Merry Christmas, why did I eat everything? But it made me think, right, what stats would you give yourselves? And I said this to you guys, right, here's some homework. Come up with what you would be in the Blood Bowl pitch.
Yeah.
And now I've prefaced it with a view of like your current level of fitness. I'm really hoping you're both sitting there going like, oh no, that's not what I did. Really...
Yeah, I need to add some niggling injuries.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what I feel like as well. So, did you do the homework and did you send me the homework? Because Ben, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Did you give yourself some stats for Blood Bowl?
I did, yeah. I don't know if you've got them, but I'll read them out. So I gave myself, and this is like, so I wanted to preface this as well because I was just thinking, because you didn't really give us any context, you just said just give us some stats.
Yeah, podcast
So I
strategy.
said, yeah, where do I have it? You're talking about airbrushing.
I have them, if you want them.
Yeah, I've got them. Okay, so I said movement 5, because I also, like, I'm not an athlete. You said if you were to walk onto the Blood Bowl pitch right now, what would you be? And I'm just thinking probably awful because I'm a completely unfit non-athlete. So I said movement 5, strength 3, edge 3+, passing 3+, armor 8 because I'm just a small boy. But realistically, I'd probably be like strength 2, edge 5+, passing 6+ or something. Because I'm just like, what use would I be if I went and joined an NFL game? I would be like worse than a halfling in usefulness. I'm gonna get clobbered. I'm gonna not be able to catch up with anyone. I'm gonna be out of breath and sent off by like, you know,
so
what's the football term? The 7th inning? I don't know. And then
that's not even cricket. That one. Movement 5, strength 2. So that's
I think that's fair.
Halfling stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's reasonable. You gave yourself some skills as well, which I did like.
I did. I actually said accurate, safe pass, and sure hand. And the accurate is just because, you know, I feel like I could be quite accurate.
But
I'm not
plus 4 to the dex bonus here.
I know where I'm throwing it at. It's not. I wanted like to help out with wildly inaccurate because I'm not an idiot. And same way, it's in the same vein, safe pass and sure hands, because Blood Bowl makes picking up the ball seem like the hardest thing, and I feel like it's not. Like, if there's one thing I can do if I went into a football pitch right now, it's pick up the ball and not drop it when I throw it. That's why I went with sure hands and safe pass.
There are some people paid $50+ million, $1 million a year that play for the Browns that can't do that. But that's another epic story of failure. They've sold Amari Cooper trips. Did you see?
Yep.
Yeah, gone to the Bills. That's going to boost the Bills up. That's maybe. I'm just pleased that the Browns have gone, oh yeah, do you know what? We're not playing football anymore. But on to people who don't play football, trips. Let's hear your stat rundown.
Yeah, so I started in traditional trips where I went with, let's look at the Blood Bowl mercenary rules and start with those. And so I started with the reliable ringer mercenary. So I ended up with movement 6, strength 3. Then I downgraded my agility because I am old, and to 3+, but gave myself a passing boost to 2+, and an armor boost to 9+ because I have extra padding.
That's true. That's the hockey player in you. You just go out in the hockey gear. Yeah.
And then as the range of skills, so I had loner 4+ because it's a mercenary skill. Defensive because I am that distracting when standing near other people. Frenzy, which relates to ice hockey days. And then Nerves of Steel and Thick Skull because I will try anything once.
And just absolutely relentless. I love that. And extra points for using the Merc rules. I really do like that. Where did Milt put his thing? He put that in the chat earlier, didn't he?
Here. So Milt went with movement 5, strength 3, edge 4+, passing 5+, armor 10+. And then in typical prison sense, he has guard, fend, and stand firm. So frankly, Milton's probably a highly useful player to add to a
I think fend and stand firm is such a crazy
Stab
choice.
makes much more sense, says Ben. I love that.
He had that on originally. Trip said he can't have it.
That is the Milton special rule.
He did say there is a special rule though, which is once per half someone makes a reference to you being let out of prison in a blind frenzy and may choose to stab a target. Which is
you see, this is the cool thing. We accidentally I went with an NDA today, so no one knows why Milton's not here. But his legend lives on. So the reason, like I said, the reason I brought this up is I was like, right, how can you translate? I was like, right, what's the average athlete in Blood Bowl is the human lineman, right? That's the average. So I was like, okay, let's put this together from an average point of view, and not pro league. Let's do normal, let's do sevens. Let's do the sevens. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. I built a spreadsheet. It's very ugly at the moment. I will prettify it. But I looked at the average 5K time. I looked at the average weight, and I broke it down to basically give a formula here where you can put in your weight. It will tell you how many press-ups you need to do to get to a certain amount of strength, a certain strength level, based on body mass. So, the idea is that, I don't know, what is it like? If you can press up 500 kilograms, your strength 1, 1,500 kilograms, your strength 2. I stacked it up like this, and then I went in and I was played around with it to see what was going on, and then basically put in my current stats, being far too heavy, far too slow, and I'm not that strong either, and looked it up, and I was like, okay, at the moment, I am movement 3, strength 1, Edge 4+, passing 4+, Edge 5+, sorry, and armor 10+, because
you are a snotling.
I am worse than a snotling.
A well-armored snotling.
I am a snotling mummy. Looking at this. But the reason I bring it up is because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so how many press-ups do I need to get to at my weight right now to hit strength 2? And I was like, how many is it? Is it 10? No. Oh yeah, I forgot that happens when I do that. Is it 22? It's 20. I was like, okay, I can work towards 20 press-ups, and then I will be, in my mind, strength 2. My current 5K time is I haven't done one in ages. I've planned out a route, because I'm going to start this weekend, and I walked it with Libby, and it took just under an hour. I was like, okay, fine. So I put in 50 minutes, because I was like, maybe I could run it in 50 minutes. It's going to give me movement 3. The idea is it's going to help me try and get my stats up to try and get in line with an average 5K time. And then to build up my press-ups, I think I need to get to 30 press-ups at my weight and a 35-minute 5K time to be movement 6 and strength 3. But one more thing. I bought an NFL football, and I bought some plastic cones.
Oh my god.
And at some point, I want to get us to go over to the forest across the road and measure out some squares and just see how well we can actually throw the ball.
That would be amazing. Okay, and we're like crapping on like wildly inaccurate. Let's see if we're actually
Because I could throw a reasonable spiral. So I was looking at my stats. I was like, I reckon my passing. I think I'm at least as good as a professional Blood Bowl lineman at passing. And I was like, okay.
Like javelin, so it's like anywhere basically in front of you is fine, not hitting a specific spot.
So from kind of driving around in the last week, going to places and thinking about stuff, I've come to terms that a Blood Bowl square is probably about 3 yards. So it's the yard you're standing in and a yard either side of you is probably about right. That means that your Blood Bowl pitch is like 40-45 yards wide, and NFL pitch is like 50-56. So I was like, okay, if we work on that, that's about 10 foot, right? It's like, so if we go, right, 10-foot squares using these cones, we go, you stand here, then you've got 2 squares, and then that person stands within a square that's 10 by 10. And if you throw the ball and it's catchable in that, you're good to go. And it's like, okay, do you know what? That's like 12, 15 feet. That's easy. I was like, that's fine. And then you start to do the maths of the different ranges. So short pass, a quick pass is 3 squares, right? So that's 15 feet. Okay. Short pass is 30 feet. That's now 10 meters. The next one is 100 feet. Because it goes to 10 squares in the next one, which is
10?
Yeah, it's 3, 6, 10, 13. And then the long bomb is a very long way. And I was like, this is going to be quite entertaining to just put the squares out and see how remotely accurate you can get. But I'm doing this just because I'm like, right, okay, this is going to be because I'm like, I am ashamed of my current physical fitness. If I got put on a Blood Bowl pitch, I would die immediately. Like, no one would hire me. I am worse than a journeyman. And I was like, right, this is how I'm going to break it down, see if I can get to a better fitness state. So, yeah.
I think and you wouldn't die immediately because you'd have a high armor, but everyone would just ignore you because you wouldn't be able to touch the ball, or if you did by accident end up with it, go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But passing was the only one there. I was like, right, we can't really infer that from weight and speed. Like agility, even the picking up of the ball thing, I was like, technically you'd probably want to splice that with how many catches you can make. But anyway, I thought we could do that at some point as a little video, and we go over, find a field, put some cones out, see how well we can throw the ball.
I'm so on board. I'm so on board. I'm so on board with this becoming a fitness podcast as well. I think we need more of those. No,
well, episode 150, do something a little bit different, and it is Bonehead Fit. Anyway. Sorry for rambling. It is episode 150. Blood Bowl has just dropped one more of its remaining teams. Is it the end? Don't worry, we're not going to end the podcast like that, although we were kind of tempted to just stop recording at that point. So, we had a chat in our little group chat, didn't we? Like, where is Games Workshop going to go now? Because we've just had the Chaos Dwarf team dropped. 1, 5, 6, all right, 0. That's where we want to go for the cameras. So Chaos Dwarves have dropped. There's only 2 teams of legend now remaining, which are High Elves and Tomb Kings. So we know that Games Workshop are not against developing new teams. We saw Gnomes this year, and it was fantastic. A clip of 2 teams a year. They've got what, 1 to 2 years left if they go new team, old team, new team, old team. That's 2 years potentially left for Games Workshop. Even if they drop a new edition, right? Because that is the current prevailing rumor, is like, it's been 5 years Games Workshop are due. They'll drop a new edition. They're going to have 2 teams in that box. They're probably not going to be reprinted teams. So if we're looking at 4 teams, like 2 new, 2 old, including a new edition that has 2 teams in there, that's only like a year and a half's worth of releases. And then where do they go to that? Like, what do we think is going to happen? Because Ben, you've played the other Games Workshop games. You've seen their release cycles. Is it going to be a situation where Games Workshop just starts bringing back and redoing older teams?
I wouldn't. I could see it happening because like we are going to reach the point where like pretty soon actually, but in that time frame that you say that like yeah, it's 10 years old. It's like the humans and the orcs. And
Oh
stuff,
wow,
for
yeah, you're
instance.
right. Actually, that was
Yeah,
2016, wasn't it?
and they've definitely redone stuff that's 10 years old. I'm sure they have, right?
I
Actually,
mean,
maybe
they've
they waited.
redone Stormcast 4 or 5 times now, and
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's a good comparison because it probably was about 10 years old that they got redone, and because that was done what last year or was it this year? And they actually remade the same models of the starter set, which was probably around 2013, 2014.
I think you're probably
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, like that's like that could happen. We could see them do that. I think I'd like to see them branch. Well, actually, that's going on. I want to see Trips' opinion on this.
July 4th, 2015 is when Age of Sigmar came out, so less
well, there you go.
less than 10 years.
Yeah, and completely redesign them.
I mean, that's generous.
Yeah, okay.
they just gave them a better 5K time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trips. What are your thoughts?
So I don't think we'll see GW re-release the teams unless they re-release the teams they've done unless they change them, because there's just a diminishing circle of people that will want to buy them and get them, because if there's no new positionals, there's no changes to the skills or the details. If you want to play an Orc team and you haven't bought the GW Orc team, are you going to wait for them to update it? Maybe that's a bad example because there are Orc players that have probably got 17 different Orc teams to play with. But
if you've got one Games Workshop Orc team and they don't change the positionals, are you likely to buy another Games Workshop Orc team? Or are you going to, like you say, Trips, I've got my Games Workshop Orc team, I don't use it anymore because I use the Torchlight one, I use the Brute Fun one, I use the Grebo one, because I've upgraded.
Yeah, not for what will be probably £45 a box by then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a really big consideration for GW is to do this. Like, you know, you're releasing something into a market where there is no market, and even if there was, there are so many options already out there. And if people haven't bought those yet, why are they going to buy your team?
So we don't necessarily think they're going to go back and redo like the actual models for those original teams. I guess part of me kind of can see them doing it for the for orcs. Like if we do get a new edition, I could see them doing a retooled version of an orc and a human team with just simply better models because of how approachable those two teams kind of are. Like I can see that because they've done it twice already, 3 times already. Because they've done it 3 times already. Like they are the classic teams. We had the old Trips, the Astrogranite pitch with the monopose humans and orcs. Then you had the blue box, right, with the plastic humans, and then in 2016 they did They did the same. They did orcs and that.
Because we have seen them upgrade the boxes, but not what comes inside the box. So the boxes had all the dark imagery originally, and then they updated them with new season.
Yeah, with the season 2 sort of branding. Okay, so let's play this out then. Let's say Games Workshop bring out the remaining teams of Legend. They chuck us a brand new team in there as well because squigs. That's why. And like they drop a new edition. I mean, I don't know where they go with a new edition. Like the 2016 to 2020, it was a minor change that nothing really got invalidated. Like it was just the same stuff. Very much to your point, Ben. Like they've got the models now, so they drop a new edition. Maybe like the new teams or something feature in that. Like maybe it's retooled humans and orcs or whatever they do to kind of generate that. But where do they go from that? And this is what brings up the question of, is this the end? Like, because Milton had a really dark, depressing thought. You know, we got our weekly prison email from him, and he was like, do Games Workshop just simmer Blood Bowl at that point? Like, all the teams are out, guys. Maybe we'll bring some star players out. You've got the box, you've got the rules. Just every now and again we'll do a top-up release for it. Or do they still continue with brand new teams? Because that's the thing right here, is once you get High Elves and Tomb Kings, other than Slan, which we don't think they'll ever do, like there are no teams. Like in Blood Bowl, they will have to invent new teams. Is that what they're going to do?
I think I would like them to, because I think there are a lot of areas the almost endless areas of Warhammer that you can touch, and the secret teams are really evident of that. Like you can dip into so many different parts. You can have variants. There's like within Skaven you've got 4 clans. They've done Chaos Gods. They haven't even done 2 of them yet, and it's just like there's so much that they can like lean into that I think would be more interesting than redesigning old ones. And I don't think they could run out. And it's also a game which lends itself to like doing that. It's endlessly expandable, Blood Bowl. Like there's no real cap on it.
Well, there kind of is. And trips in Warcry, we've seen them drop 10 teams to 10 warbands, right? And then retire the warbands as new warbands have come out. And they've done the same with Shady Undertown Spire.
Yeah, it's very much the way they've gone with their box games. Is here are the teams, here are the gangs, here are the details, and we'll release everything. Then we'll archive almost 10 of them. We'll bring some old ones back, and almost you get into rotational.
Oh my god, they've done it with Kill Team, haven't they? They've just done that with Kill Team.
Warcry.
All right, that's a spicy meatball then.
That's actually making me a little bit.
Well, because are we at 30 Blood Bowl teams, or are we at 29 plus Slam?
I think it's 30 with Chaos. No, because Chaos Wolf already existed. So
yeah. Maybe it's I think it's 30 with Slan that they're sitting at the moment. From a game shop point of view, that's a lot of SKUs. Like that's. And the thing is, like, it's not like, oh yeah, I'll get a load of high elf teams because people are always buying high elf teams. Because you buy one, it's not like a tactical squad or whatever the Primaris ridiculous name is. Is like you need one. You need one box. So does a game store like even bother with the older teams, or is it just all new release stuff? In which case, trips, do you think we'll see them go, right, here's some new teams, but we're going to archive those teams because the human and orc team is looking kind of old now?
I could see them doing that, but almost just to enable them to refresh those teams 18 months down the line to get the interest back in the game. I mean, it would cause absolute outroar if you took a base team away, because everyone who bought a starter box would instantly have 2 dead teams.
Well, yeah, but it's a starter box from 9 years ago. Like, because they
do like the new starter box release for box games and details. You could absolutely see that happen. They could just put the game into a maintenance mode and let it run for a couple of years.
I think that leans into what's unique about Blood Bowl, though, as opposed to the other games you mentioned earlier, where Blood Bowl has this community side to it and the community support of it, and I don't think it's as easy to just drop as it is with like Kill Team and Warcry. That's all GW. Like there is like no real third party input into those games. So if they want, they can just be like, okay, this is the rule set now, take it. But with Blood Bowl, you've got this really strong community, and GW recognizes that because they do things like support these teams of legend when the new edition came out, and they've got like, yeah, you can't buy humans and orcs now anyway from third-party shops. You can only get them direct from GW. Yeah, they're still as ubiquitous as ever. So there is this element of it as well, where it's like I don't know if you ever could just not have all the teams, even if you can't sell them.
It's just interesting because, I mean, obviously it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, I want them to. Do you know what? 2 teams a year. That's fine. That's fine. I'd like more, but 2 teams is fine. Like, we get 1 in the spring, 1 in the autumn, and actually keep it going, like, for as long as you can, because that's just wicked fun. And like Ben said, there are endless amounts of teams to explore, and name some cracky ones. A Slanesh team, a Tzeentch team, some stunty teams, and you've got then your more interesting like elements of of Skavendom, a Dwarf Ranger team. Like there's just a whole bunch of stuff they could do. Different types of humans, like they've got Tillians and all kinds. That there's a whole Warhammer world where you could go with. And I don't think it would be. I just wonder, like, I guess from like an economical point of view, is that the business plan? Is that what they're going to want to do? Just keep making brand new teams? And at that point, is their release? I think Trips, you said it, like on a rotational basis. It falls into very much like a card game, like a TCG kind of thing. Like, boom, here's the new set, buy the new set, and then we never ever sell it again. And then boom, here's a new set. I mean, Ben, that feels like that's your Kickstarter history page right there. Like,
yeah, true.
I mean, I would be, first of all, would that be what you guys would want? Just like a continual 2 teams a year for as long as they can do it?
Probably yes.
Yeah.
That would be great. And it's not like they don't have a whole heap of other games who are doing a load of other miniature development for them, which they could then go, right, well, we've got 90% of a Blood Bowl player in that race over there. We need to give them some socks and take the weapon out of their hands.
Yeah.
Give them, don't forget the socks. Because, right, Trips, you are the Necromunda guy on this podcast. And I think the way they drop these releases, like Necromunda feels like the most supported game, the most supported non-mainline game, although the models are probably better than the mainline games. Like that's they get a ton of support, but I don't think they could do that for Blood Bowl.
No, I mean, Necromunda does sell itself to a steady trickle of miniatures where you get a new gang very infrequently, but then you get an add-on here or an extra bit here and details there that slowly fill out the detail. I think you can't do that with Blood Bowl so much, although we see it with all the star players who don't come out at the time of the release of the team. When you have a new team, there's almost that mini team ecosystem. You go, I need all of that in one go, otherwise I'm never going to play with them.
And they've done a really good job. Like the Chaos Dwarves selling out was, I mean, really good for them. Like it's not, it's just like they do a really good job, I think, of tying the pitch and the dice and the star players and all this to the Spike release. Like I really, really love the way they do that. And they're dropping star players like almost as frequently as the Necromunda stuff. I wonder if they could do something that's kind of hybrid. Like you say, like Trips, they drop bits and pieces to fill out a team. Well, what if, like to Ben's point with Skaven, what if they dropped a is it Clan Moor? No, Moors, the Storm Vermin roster.
Yeah,
like the Storm Vermin guys. Yeah. Like they dropped a Clan Moors booster pack, which is 2 more blitzers and a fullback, right? Just a strength 4 dwarf, a strength 4 Skaven runner in there, and be like, right, here's your upgrade pack, so you can also run your Skaven team as a Clan Moors team, but you have to go for the Forge World thing. And actually, we've released 3 models that now mean you can take those 3 models and the models that we already sold, put them together, and now you've got 2 different alternatives, and they could add in bits like that with kind of alternate rules, because that's something that we don't have in Blood Bowl absolutely positively anywhere. We've got no alternate rosters. The closest thing we got was Death Zone, and that was from like years ago now.
And the ones that were in the app, so like the Savage Orcs and
but that was nearly 10 years ago.
I mean, that would be, you would imagine that would be a very popular way to go, because you basically go, have you got this team? Would you like to buy a sprue? And all of a sudden you've got 2 teams that can cover 2 things.
If they did it in plastic, Ben, if they did that in resin, how do you think that would go?
I just don't. I think those upgrade packs that you talked about would sell more, like than Stars would, because I think Stars have an inherent like an ability where you just don't really use them anyway. But I think these upgrade packs would actually be pretty good, and it would avoid that trouble you had, which you mentioned about like independent sellers, because they don't sell them anyway. GW can just make as many as they like to, and then 3D print sculptors are going to come in and just do it anyway, and
that was
just support the game without much overhead.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But the downside of that is they release something from Forge World, they can't stock it quick enough because it's resin or whatever, and then by that time, like we've just gone and like Brute Fund's already sculpted one from scratch and we've
I
printed
think
it.
they could easily embrace that because from GW's perspective, they can continually support their game in full as much as people want them to, and they don't really have to do a lot. Like they have to design the team, test the team, and then I don't know, release like 12 copies of this upgrade pack, recover the costs to make it or whatever, and then that's all they have to do. I don't know if they even need, like, to be fair, I don't even think they need to anymore. I think if I mean, I don't know business, but if I was on GW's perspective, I would just be like, go nuts. Like, we'll provide the rules, you do the models. Like, we don't have to. That seems great.
I think they've gone with the ethos if they try and make sure that if they've got rules for something, they've got models. That's something they've moved to with their core games.
It's definitely in their business strategy, yeah.
It seems like a logical thing, but I mean, it's a really. I wonder if. I do wonder, like, you get this with Necromunda, right, Trips? They drop a PDF on the Warcom every now and again. They're like, here's a mission for this. You're going to need a truck. You're going to need this, and it gives you that opportunity to be like, oh, what do I want to use for this? Without it puts that pump of like, oh, Necromunda stuff. Like me,
it just keeps it going. You just look at something and go, oh, I'd like that. I don't know what I'd use it for, but I'd like that.
I'm tempted to map out all of the Games Workshop games, like the non-core games, based on Warcom articles and Warcom releases, and just do like a little ECG of it to see the heartbeat of a game, because over the course of a year, because I think Necromunda would just be like solid, like some solid heartbeats.
Yeah, you always see it drop in every now and then, don't you?
Yeah,
it always looks awesome.
every week or 2 weeks, there's an article or a model release or something, which I think is really, really, really cool. But I agree with you, Trips. I don't think that would. I think it was you, Ben, who said like a new star player every week is not useful to most, like, to so many people.
Sometimes I don't know if I'm like unique in it. I don't think I am, but like I always feel like I'm actually intrigued if people listen and they want to comment just to have my back in this, because it always feels like whenever there's an article like that, even in Necromunda, like 40k, I don't know, less so, but it's more like Necromunda's the main one, and Blood Bowl Stars. When they drop this article and you're just like, oh, cool, and it's Forge World, and you're like, okay, because it's just like, this is like something I will never buy. It's really expensive. Like, it's exciting to look at, to see this, like, oh, there's a new thing in the game. That model looks nice. Okay, next.
Okay.
And it just never had any impact. Like, but I feel like it could, and that's what I want it to.
So I just did a rough count, and I think there have been 50 articles on Warcom for Necromunda this year, and 22 Blood Bowl articles.
Yeah, that feels about right. I could tell you were doing something, Trips. You had your very focused face on. But talking of like new stuff, Games Workshop have just dropped the balance update. And this is the other thing that
That's screaming here.
yeah, well, we don't have to worry about that right now, which is lovely. But the way they do the FAQs, you've got that both twice a year. They're changing and updating the wording of the rules recently, as opposed to the balance of the rules. They're not changing tiers, they're not changing costs for star players, they're not changing costs for teams. I'll admit it's probably because, quite frankly, if something's that busted, the Blood Bowl community is like, yeah, just don't use it because you don't want to be that guy. That's why you've never run Hackflem, Ben. Or, tiers in tournaments will sort it out, or local friend groups will just not play with you. But there's nothing in the game that's that bad anyway, right? So it's not like they need to do that. So I think I've nullified my own point, because I don't think the FAQs are going to ever make such an impact that it reinvigorates the game or changes the game much past this dead point of the game.
Yeah, like it's something that they never do with Blood Bowl that happens in 40k, and that's change the price of players. Have they ever done that? Outside of maybe Misprint and Dungeon Bowl or something.
Morg and Hackflem are the only times that's ever happened.
Yeah, it does. But like rostered players and stuff, that never happens, does it? But I actually really like this thing they do with 40k, where like, do you remember you used to have to pay for points updates? Like they used to have these like not that long ago. You used to have the field manuals that you buy. It's like £25, and you get new points, and that was just crazy,
Well,
like absolutely outrageous.
Haven't they stopped doing that
And
in
now
books because at one point they released a book with points in, but they changed the points before the book was even released.
Yeah. I don't know if I haven't actually seen a new codex yet, but I don't know if they've got points in. But I think they do, because they release that before anything comes out. Like if you get like the army boxes, that's like the only way to see the rules. But like these like digital PDFs that they continually update, I think that's actually really positive. I like those.
Yeah, there's a lot of like other games that used to do it with apps and things like that, but Games Workshop are the core. So, okay, my last question for you guys, or the biggest question, is Games Workshop finishes up the Teams of Legend, and then we don't really see anything more from it, because we've been through that, right? Was it last year all we got was vampires, and it was what? Oh, is it Amazons all the way through to vampires? So we had nothing for,
Yeah, I think so.
for a year, and everyone started getting a bit like, hello, we're still here, and it felt a bit like, have Games Workshop finished now? Like, is that it? Have they looked at Blood Bowl and gone, yeah, it's cool for a splash release, but there's no return customer there. There's no like continued purchasing power because of the way the game is. It's released, the rules are out. Let's say it gets to that, they finish these teams, whether they drop a new edition or don't drop a new edition, there's no more teams to make, and let's assume they don't bother, and the game just kind of gets frozen again. Like, I'm not wrong here. That's the biggest fear / kind of expectancy. Am I off base with that?
I think the community is so alive that it could never happen. I think that's what keeps me reassured about it. Is like, even if GW just literally tomorrow said, we're done with Blood Bowl, we're still going to be playing Blood Bowl next week.
Yeah,
and next year.
That was kind of if Games Workshop stopped doing stuff. Would it matter?
I think it would matter. Yeah, I do think it would matter. I think like there is a big part of it when they do a new team, but I don't think it would stop anything.
No, I think there would be, you would get that natural vacuum where everyone went, are they doing anything? What's going to happen? The community would do something. You'd probably take 18 months to do. I could see GW doing 2 more years of 2 teams, then almost having a year off, and then doing something after that. But when you start to say that, and you're like, crikey, that's like, we'll be having this conversation this year, in a year's time, and in a year's time after that, going, is anything else coming? And it's like, oh,
yeah.
According to our new Blood Bowl fitness, I'm at movement -1.
Yeah, by 5k time, wicked. It's interesting because Games Workshop have done it before, like, but not now, for on the way to 10 years. Like, we've had nearly a decade of Games Workshop supporting Blood Bowl now. We're for sure 18 months or whatever, but like, we see those spikes of interest, and Games Workshop are bringing brand new people into the game. And I think it's a wildly different game than the rest of theirs, because everyone starts Blood Bowl at Games Workshop. Whether you are joining a club and your first place to go is probably just to pick up a plastic team because it's the cheapest option, or you start at a Games Workshop and go, sports. We like sports and we don't care who knows. I'll buy that team there. Like, either way, like, Games Workshop is the first port of call, unless you're an advanced modeler who already has a 3D printer and understands that there's the third party stuff, or you buy something. Like, I would say 80% of people start with the Games Workshop team.
Yeah.
So Games Workshop producing new teams does build that hype, and does be like, I think their new teams bring in players from other Games Workshop games into Blood Bowl.
100%. Yeah.
But I don't think it brings in new people to Games Workshop. And then you get a couple of teams, and then you go, oh, hello, what's all this third-party nonsense? What's all this stuff? And you become like a core hobbyist and you become, I think, an advanced player really, really, really quickly, where you're like, I've sunk below the new beginner Games Workshop stuff into, now Games Workshop update what I already have. And it becomes like, it's quite a quick turnaround. And I think that's the only thing that would really change, is that the hype would go away. But I think I don't think it would take long for it to stabilize at all.
Yeah, I think you do raise a good point though. It's like the influx of new players would definitely plummet. I don't think it would affect much of existing players, but yeah, new people getting in. I think I take for granted how much GW helps people get involved and how many people start with GW. Like, I mean, I definitely did.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do, and unless you personally know a veteran Blood Bowl player,
I think that's
play
it.
this game.
If you're already in a club, like if your 40k mates also play Blood Bowl, eventually you'll end up playing Blood Bowl, and you might just borrow one of their third-party teams, and you might skip that entry stage. But like, I think otherwise, like that stepping stone is really, really, really important. And if it was to go away, the game, I think it would go back to how it was 10 years ago. I don't think quite quickly. I think it would take a couple of years. I think Trips, you flagged it like 18 months to 2 years, right? Before everything's kind of solved, because at that point you get to spend time using the teams that you've already got. And
you see this lag from a new team to seeing them in tournaments as well, and it's in that 6 to 9 month period, because A, that's how long it takes you to get hold of it, and B, that's definitely how long it takes you to get it from the thought to the table.
Yeah, to paint it. It only takes one Friday night to paint any team, but yeah, you're not wrong. And I guess I wanted to talk this out because I don't know where they're going to go once they're done. Like, we're expecting the teams of legend, so there is a come on, finish up. They get come on, you've got stuff to do. But that list is now wildly reducing, and it's like, oh, at that point, do they go, look, we've got 30 teams, that's enough for you? And I just wonder where they're going to take it, whether they're going to discontinue the beginning. But the point is, whatever happened, like, there was a time we talked about the fact this is the 150th podcast. Well, do you know what? Before Blood Bowl 2020 landed, Blood Bowl 2016 was very, 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 very similar to how Blood Bowl the CRP was, right? It was basically the same rule set, just with better models. So it was solved for the most part, which meant we could then go and play more in the uncharted territories of house rules and the secret league teams, and that felt very like, that was really interesting and really exciting. And if Games Workshop does go, do you know what, you've got your 30 teams, we're going to take a year off, like Drip said, I think you'll start seeing people be like, oh, you know what, yeah, that cycle will come back around. And I see people panicking, like, occasionally, and you know, I love a good bit of drama every now and again. But
it's fine. We can just have the Brute Fun Tour Play collab, and that'll be the official release schedule. So yeah,
there is something to that, where if the support stops, because like Ben, you said, the community is so strong, and the creators in this community are like quite unitable, I would say. And there's also the NAF there, so it's kind of like it wouldn't take long for an unofficial union or different things to happen. I think that'd be really quite interesting.
Sure.
But I've got nothing else to add. Is it the end? No. We will see what Games Workshop does. I'm expecting nothing for the rest of this year. And come on, let's hope for a couple more teams next year. And let's hope that one of them is not High Elves or Tomb Kings, so that we can at least have one more team of legend to go, come on, 2026, let's have that missing team of legend, before we kind of have to go into the point of what happens next. Because I would very much like to hear your thoughts on this, everyone, because this is, I think, quite an interesting one. Milton was very depressing in his thoughts, wasn't he? He was like, nah, I think that's it. I think they're just going to go boop, boop, done, and then you're just going to retire it and just let it cook, let it simmer. And I hope he's wrong, because the design space is just absolutely delicious. As far as I'm concerned, they've got... I think we spoke about it on the stream, wasn't it? It was like, I really want to give Games Workshop my money, so... come on, just make stuff. Make stuff. Keep making stuff, Games Workshop, because Chorfs have landed. Yes, they're a little bit worse than they used to be, but they're a little bit more interesting than they used to be, which means that them and Amazons and Norse and vampires and gnomes, the last 5 teams, what was before that? Khorne?
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe.
So all of the teams they've dropped have been interesting and have been well designed. and fun to play, and just I want more of that because it's really good. I like what they've done with Chorfs. I know there are going to be people who are bee-hurt about it, but it is slightly more interesting, and I don't mind that at all. But for me, that's everything today. Trips and BT, thanks for joining me and talking to Blood Bowl.
No, thank you.
And you?
Right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Oh, I don't have to wait because this is a recording. Hey. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.